Welcome to Loud and Nerdy on a Tuesday evening, late in January. My name is JW Colwell. Busting makes me feel good. Joined as always by my good friends Kyle Defina and Jerry Kamora. Thank you for joining us tonight, boys. How is your week going? How is your life going? What is going on? Okay, good.
Watching trailers.
Just watching trailers.
Watched all of Ted this weekend. Watched all of Echo this weekend.
Did you like Echo?
I enjoyed it.
It's a good show.
A little slow, but
it's got the king. It's got Vincent D'Onofrio as the Kingpin, and it's he's amazing. He's perfect. He's the best. He's one of the best Marvel villains going. So you watched Echo. You watched Ted. Did you watch the Twilight Zone?
I did, and that's why I don't like homework. I watched the show about a dementia patient tonight. Yes.
She's not a dementia. We're gonna get to it. She's not a dementia patient.
Holy crap!
She's not a dementia patient. She's not a dementia patient. She's Sunset Boulevard. There's gonna be some knowledge learned tonight. The episode we're talking about, of course, is the 16mm Shrine, and it stars one of the great Hollywood, actresses, Ida Lupino. We're going to talk a little bit about Ida Lupino because this, when doing research for the show tonight, I can't believe, Jerry, you're going to be shocked. Kyle, you're not going to care. But what I would say is Jerry being shocked and the amount of information we're going to give the people who watch the show tonight about Ida Lupino and this particular episode. I'm so excited because the shit you learn when you do research on some things ends up being the coolest stuff you've read all week. And once you hear it, you'll understand. It could be a Jeopardy clue. It's so great. But we also have also coming up on the show tonight, we have Dave Romeo from Comics on the Green in Scranton, Pennsylvania, the single greatest comic book store in the world. I'm going to say it. I love Comics on the Green. It's one of my favorites. And Dave's going to be on. We're going to talk about stuff that's ongoing. We're going to be talking about stuff that's coming up, and we're going to be talking about movies and what's going on with how people feel about casting. We're going to ask him the all-important question about Millie Alcock and whether or not she's perfect for Kara Zor-El, I should say. And so we're going to get all of that. I did see a couple movies this weekend. Super excited. I got to see this movie again, Godzilla -1 minus color. And when I tell you it's amazing minus color, like the version that I saw originally is great, but the version in black and white is amazing because the creativity involved in making a new Godzilla movie and then making it look like an old Godzilla movie. And the idea that they got it perfect. So when you see it in black and white, it's like, it looks like a 1960s Godzilla movie.
I still need to see that.
Oh my God, Jerry, you're going to love it. It's amazing. It's one of the best Godzilla movies ever made. Like it also this weekend passed Parasite as one of the highest grossing foreign films in the history of United States box office totals, which is great. But it's just to
make it really an original Godzilla feel, though. They should have had bad subtitles, bad dubbing over top of it, or their mouths don't match. But
wait a second. Here's the thing. That is something that happened later in America. But Godzilla movies were always very serious in Japan. Toho Godzilla movies were deadly serious.
It's Godzilla.
Yeah. The movie's fantastic. I can't talk. Have you seen it? Jerry hasn't seen it. Have you seen it?
I haven't seen it.
No.
But you like Godzilla. Why wouldn't you see it?
No, I just haven't gotten to a theater.
I understand. Okay. I saw that again, and then I also saw this movie that is making waves in the Oscar race. It's called The Zone of Interest. It is not for everyone. I'm going to give a brief review of it right now. Here's how it goes. The Zone of Interest is a movie it's all in Polish and German. It is about a family that lives next to Auschwitz. And you find early in the movie that the family not only lives next to Auschwitz, but the father in the family is the commandant of Auschwitz. And he has set forth the plan he comes up with the idea and the planning for the eradication of 7 million Jews and 3 million Christians in the Holocaust. He comes up with the ideas and all these different things about how to burn people alive, how to lure them into the showers, everything. But the movie itself is about the banality of life. It's about how everyday evil kind of seeps into everything when you're that close to evil. So, and the characters are all very much wrapped in themselves. They're very much, Mueller, who's also in Anatomy of a Fall, which is a very big Oscar movie as well. She plays the wife, and she's called the Queen of Auschwitz by all her friends. And it's just about mundane things that she does that are truly evil, and the banality of evil seeping in to everyday life, seeping into your kids, seeping into how you react to things. She tells a dinner party that she buys extra toothpaste because I found diamonds in, because those sneaky Jews do things with put diamonds in toothpaste. So I'm buying extra toothpaste now because I want to see if I hit the jackpot again. It's very much about the banality of evil, and it's one of the best movies of the year. It is also a movie I will never, ever watch again. I'm going to be honest. And it's an amazing film, but it is one of those movies that is just, it grinds, and it grinds you to a nub. There's nothing but background noise going on. So these people are living a regular existence. Jerry, you would have a family picnic. And all the while they're having the picnic, all you hear is screams, gunshots. You see the black smoke billowing over the house. It's just about the banality of evil. They go to the park. They go to the river. And the father, The Zone of Interest.
The Zone of Interest. Okay. You had a question in the comments.
Cool name.
Well, somebody asked me what I thought it was. Can you repeat the name of the movie so we can do some research? Sure. It's called The Zone of Interest. It's nominated for Best Picture because it wasn't put up in the international category for some odd reason. And so it got nominated for Best Picture. It also got nominated for Best Director. The most interesting thing about it, production design, set design, sound. There is never a moment in the movie, guys, folks watching, where you don't hear sound in the background. And there's never a scene that ends without something horrible happening at the end of the scene. So they're riding on horseback, and then at the end of the scene, you see a bunch of people running into the grass and dragging a prisoner out back to Auschwitz. They go fishing, and the father's fishing. The two kids are playing just as anybody would play by a river. And as they're playing, the father reaches down and he picks out a human jawbone, and sees a giant swath of the river in a black ooze. Goes, grabs the kids, takes them home, and then they scrub the kids, and he scrubs himself down with the old Brillo pad brushes. It is about the banality of evil. It is a fantastic movie. It is amazing and well done. It is scary and tragic and horrible. And the mother comes to visit the lady, and the mother's super excited about the house. And then 2 nights in, the mother goes to the window, and all you see is a blaze across the skyline. She puts her hand on her mouth, puts perfume in the hand and in a handkerchief, lays back down, and then the next morning leaves because she can't handle the smell. It's an amazing movie about the banality of evil, and just amazing. Some comments. Let's get some comments. Good evening, friends. Good evening, Ken McKernan. Good to have you back. I hope you're feeling better. Holy fro, Kyle. Has Jerry always had a beard? Because either the hat or the scruff made him look like a completely different person. I think the beard is...
No.
I think the beard is new. The beard is new.
It's for 2 reasons. It's the only hair that I can control anymore. And my wife doesn't like it, so sometimes I just...
Oh, the boom. Hello, boys. Hello, Raven. All right. So I saw it for the first time ever in black and white. I was really disappointed because I got to see the trailer in color. Like, not knowing I have to read now, I can't imagine color is there. No, don't imagine colors there. Just enjoy it as a Godzilla movie.
Just go on to the next one.
I think if you saw it in color, I think I'd see it in black and white, it was amazing. But if you saw it the first time in black and white, it was underwhelming. You still felt the storyline was underwhelming, Missy? Because I don't agree with that at all. Because it's the first Godzilla movie where you actually care about the characters.
My wife won't watch it just because it's black and white.
Well, you can watch it in color. Do you feel the success of Werewolf by Night being released?
It's Godzilla.
No, I think the success of Godzilla lent. This is a good question. Do you feel the success of Werewolf by Night being released in both black and white, then color lent to Godzilla being released both ways? And do you think it will start a trend again? First off, there's always a trend. You're always going to have filmmakers that make black and white movies. They do tend to be really great filmmakers, and they also tend to be really great movies, right? But the trend is always there, Raven. Let's see. Jasper says, how do I get Jerry Lewis to work in my camp?
No.
We're never going to see that movie. That movie's never going to come out, so you don't have to worry about it. Good evening, gentlemen. Good evening, Joe. Thank you for joining us. Can you repeat the name of the movie so we can do some research? Zone of Interest, name of the movie we're talking about. As the practice is only on streaming. It's only in 300 screens around the country, but it is an Oscar movie, so it's going to get a little bit of a push. It did very well. It's coming out from A24, so it might take a little while to get to the Scranton area, but in Orlando we have it. Sounds very interesting. We'll have to put it on my list. I heard nothing about this one, JW. It's really interesting, but it's really a grind. It's an hour and 45 minutes, and I don't mean a grind in a bad way. It just means it's a grind that you're just watching these people do evil things, and it starts to seep into your soul. Like it's weird. JW, I literally watched trailer in color and got so much more of a feel from than I did in black and white. I was waiting for it to turn color. Entire fucking movie. Yeah, no, I mean, but they told you that's what this particular release of the movie did very well over the weekend in black and white because of all the people who had already seen it in color. Good evening, Dawn Marie. How are you? Good to see you. So we do have to talk about the Ghostbusters trailer, and then I want to get to our guest because he's one of our best guests, and I enjoy having him on, and we have so many things to talk about. And but let's talk about the trailers that hit this week because there's been 3 of them. There's a Guy Ritchie trailer that just dropped today with Henry Cavill playing. It's apparently based on a true story, and the trailer is bananas. It's called The Ministry of Ungentlemanly Warfare. It is, listen to the cast, kids: Henry Cavill, Alan Ritchson, Alex Pettyfer. So it's got really good looking people killing Nazis. A secret band that was put into place by Winston Churchill. Apparently it's a true story. That trailer's bananas. The Monkey Man trailer is bananas. It's directed by Dev Patel. It's produced by Jordan Peele. And it's basically, it looks like John Wick, but I'm sorry, anytime you have a monkey mask and he's just killing people, I'm like, yeah. Okay. Jesus. How are we not talking about Ghostbusters yet? We're not talking about Ghostbusters yet because we're a democratic thing. We try to get as many trailers in as possible. But the Ghostbusters trailer is pretty spectacular. Original cast members back. Original characters back.
They didn't get Rick Moranis, right? I mean, I didn't see him in the...
I have to assume... Well, first off, everybody knows... I don't know if everybody knows, but the story about Rick Moranis is he walked away from films because his wife got sick and he had to take care of his kids.
Not too long ago, though.
Did a commercial not too long ago. But he walked away from film. So we don't know. Maybe we're going to get Rick Moranis. But
I think it's going to be one of those feel-good comebacks that they're just not going to
And it would tell me opening night if everybody's sitting there watching Ghostbusters, Rick Moranis shows up as Louis Tully. People don't. Yes, babies in the air. Everything's glorious. The trailer's really good. It's solid. It gives an idea that they're going to be maybe this version of Ghostbusters. Not only are they going to have the older folks, but maybe they're going to be hunting artifacts as well. Because the trailer has a real, like, that Ray's Occult Books, Ray's bookstore, Ray Stance's bookstore, is going to play a big part in this, where they find occult objects that are also haunted. because there's a whole sequence in the middle of the trailer where they're studying this ball. The guy grabs the ball and he freezes. And then I would say he's probably going to become the evil spirit that steals all the ghosts.
Friday the 13th, the series.
Yeah, a little bit like that. That's what I was going for. I knew you were right there. I think the trailer's really good. I think if you're a Ghostbusters fan, you're super excited. I think the idea that Walter Peck is somehow in a position of power is the scariest fucking Ghostbusters villain ever. Because he's terrible. He's a terrible person. He lies all the time. He tried to get them arrested. Did so many things. If he is either the mayor or a judge, we have real problems, right? Because he's not going to allow them to do what they want to do. You know what I mean? My name is Peck. Well, is it true? Yes, this man has no dick. Well, that's what I heard. It's just so many great lines. We're going to get more Walter Peck lines. And the other person that looks like they're having a complete blast. First off, I'm sorry, I'm jumping around. Casting. Kumail Nanjiani, great. Patton Oswalt, great. Get good people as supporting characters. Funny people as supporting characters. Fantastic. And I think the other thing, the person that looks like who's having a blast, does it not look like Paul Rudd is absolutely incensed and amazed that he's in a second Ghostbusters movie and looks like he's going to fucking run with it? He looks amazing, like when he starts singing the song and she's just like, no, get out. Like, get out. No. Let's see. I like true story movies. I do too, Don Marie. Let's see. Ghostbusters Fully Democratic. It is. The Lighthouse. Fantastic movie. Praying for Moranis. I think everybody wants Rick Moranis, but the thing is, he's taking care of his kids. You know what I mean? And Raven.
He left how long ago to take care of his kids? How old are these kids now?
I don't know, but still, like,
well,
even if he's walked away, it's okay. I'm not going to fault him for walking away. The international trailer is better edited.
Is he still
info? I agree.
Did they shrink?
No, they're not shrunk.
Exactly, Jerry. A while back, Rick Moranis got attacked in New York. Don't know how he's doing. That's true. That happened as well. Looks like it's really Viking the Ghostbusters scarf. I'm excited. Slimer's back. I think can I tell you the sheer joy of watching a trailer with a 6 and a 7-year-old nephew who love Ghostbusters, and as the trailer ends, they just yell and jump up and down. Slimer's back! Slimer's back! And then, if you have 6 and 7-year-olds around you, you get this question: where did Slimer go? And that kids is why 6 and 7-year-olds should rule the world.
Now, High C needs to bring Ecto Cooler back now.
A new story today out. Wait, a new story out today. Apparently, this is true. 7-Eleven will have an Ecto Cooler Freezy going, an icy, an Ecto Cooler icy. Do you have Ecto Cooler? Oh, you do. I tilted a little bit. You can see my Ghostbusters toys all the way at the top up there.
From the 80s, right here.
Nice.
And it shoots.
Let's see. Cameron Cruden writes, Rick Moranis will be in the movie Shrunk. Rick Moranis' kids are grown, but that's okay. I'm not going to hold it against him if he doesn't get back. James McAllister is an English comic also in the cast. Yes, there's a lot of good people. Slimer was in hell. No, he was not. Get out of here, Jasper. He wasn't in hell. He was eating somewhere. Maybe he was stuck at Taco Bell. I don't know.
I don't know. Was he in the
movie? Looks great though.
McCarthy remake? Because that was hell.
Slimer wasn't. Slimer was there actually. He was in that as well. But the question, he's also in Ghostbusters 2. I mean, he literally drives the bus so Rick Moranis can get to the Statue of Liberty. So in 2, he was helping out. So maybe he's going to be a helper again, like on the show. I think that would be amazing, by the way, if he was like a little helper like he was on the animated series, like a pet. Ghostbusters, obviously going to be one of the bigger movies of the year, and it's a little over a month away. So, well, a month and a half away. Okay. On occasion, we have guests on the show that are smart, knowledgeable, and some aren't. But the guy we're having on now is we have Dave Romeo coming on, and he is from Comics on the Green. Please, everybody, give a warm welcome. We're going to talk about all the comics that you need to read this year and all the stuff that you might not be reading that you should be reading now. Welcome, Dave Romeo, ladies and gentlemen. Hey, how you doing, Dave?
Can you hear me okay?
No.
Really?
Now it's not working. What is up? Okay.
I don't know. Can you hear me now?
Quiet.
Now I can. Wait, try it now.
Okay, hold on. How about
right
now?
there? That's perfect. Keep it there.
I'll try D8 too.
So, Dave, you run Comics on the Green. You just celebrated a big anniversary. How many years have you been in this business, Dave?
Total 34 years. And my own store for 32 now. So it's been a while. Been doing this.
It's been a hot minute.
Yeah.
Is there stuff that you, if you were old Dave and you could tell young Dave one thing about the comics business, what would it be? Like, what would you say? I'm not saying like don't buy a specific issue, like don't buy too many Death of Supermans or anything like that. What would you say is the one thing that you would say to your younger self going, yeah, this is the right business or whatever? What would you say?
I mean, I've always thought it was the right business, but I was so new to it when I first started. I made a lot of mistakes that were, just stupid, that like common sense things. And if I can go back and tell young Dave, just it'd be nice. I'd even be a little bit better off than I am now, but I'm doing okay.
Is there any business in downtown Scranton that's longer tenured than you?
Expensive issues. Don't sell them yet. Let them sit for a couple more years, but can't complain.
Kyle, what's your question? That was a good question.
I want to know. You said you've been there 32 years. Is there any business in downtown Scranton that's been there longer than you?
You know what? Not that many. Now, right next to me is Pizza by Papa's, and they've been there about 51 years, but they just sold, so they're into their second owners now, but they would qualify. And there's Abe's Deli, but they're not the original owners, but they've been around a long time.
And Coney Island owners just sold as well.
What that?
So the original Coney Island sellers just sold.
A lot of them are on, but I got to give them credit as far as keeping the businesses going. But as far as original owners, I honestly don't know. I mean, there might be some jewelers down or something. But as far as everybody else, yeah,
as far as we're concerned, Dave's the last man standing in Scranton. That's it. He's the list. So I think.
Sure.
I think when we have you on, my two favorite things to talk about are what are you reading, what's hot, and what's coming up, and then we'll talk some movie stuff, obviously, because I have to run movie questions by you because I'm obsessed. So, but what's hot, what are you reading, what should people be reading right now? And actually, let's get some comments first. Okay, wait. Is there something going on?
Morning, Dave. JW's like all over the place tonight.
Yeah, I'm all over. I am all over the place, but I'm also reading stuff. Hiya, Dave. Welcome, Dave.
Hello.
I didn't. Welcome, Dave. Great shop.
Showdown too much.
I got my best Walking Dead issues from this man. And then is Abe's Deli the one that is kosher? Yes, it is.
Yeah, but they have non-kosher.
Yeah, you can go non-kosher. So, Dave,
they wouldn't let me mix the cheese with the corned beef.
Yes, Can I tell you, I used to babysit for a Jewish family, and the one night I put cheese on a cheeseburger on a plate, and they had to get their entire dinnerware re-blessed because I was a fuck up and
Orthodox.
Didn't think about it. But they were so kind. They were like, I'm like, does that cost money? He's like, oh, no, we're good. I'm like, okay, because I pay for it because I had no idea. But that's just me being an idiot. Okay, Dave here.
Triple the cost of what he charged for babysitting.
Question. With the success of What If Season 2, 1602 episode, do you believe that they will be doing a sequel run?
In the comics, you mean?
Yeah, I think she means in the comics.
I don't know. Right now, I'm ordering all the way through like April and May, and I don't in there yet. I haven't heard anything on the horizon. I wouldn't put it past them if it's a success because Disney likes their corporate synergy and everything. But
right. Yes, they do. Jasper writes, "It's bacon." Thank you, Jasper. Sweet baby, there's just so much you don't know. I feel there's a whole Pocahontas thing going on right now with me. Okay, I have no idea what I don't know what that is. Anyway, a squirrel. Okay. So what is the show? What are the comics that you're reading? What should people be reading if we're talking right now?
Well, you know, since we like to talk movies, there's actually a lot of really cool movie tie-in type things that have either just finished or are going on or coming up. And briefly about, they just finished, Marvel did, a Wolverine versus Predator miniseries, which is about like peanut butter and jelly you can get. And that was really cool. It was done over like 100 years, as if this one Predator has been hunting Wolverine over 100 years. And it was Wolverine when he was just becoming Wolverine, when he was with the Weapon X program, when he was with the X-Men, and finally they settled the score.
And the covers are striking, right? So like this is the cover.
And that's when he was just in the Weapon X program. So he's kind of like this beast, and it's not like the Wolverine later. He had to kind of grow into that. So this Predator has met Wolverine in his life, and it's a really, really good series.
What I'm noticing is what we're talking about. What I'm noticing is like the 20th Century Fox Studios. I'm also noticing like the next one we're going to talk about. I think it's really interesting that the comics world is now like the synergy that's going is getting more pronounced. Maybe would be the word. I mean, it's always been there, right, but it feels like we're using the Wolverine from 20th Century Fox Studios. And, you know, Predator is already from 20th Century Fox Studios. You know what I mean? So it's just interesting. What about the next one you want to talk about? What's the other one that you were discussing?
Right now, and this is the crossover you didn't think you needed or would see, but you definitely need to read. It's Justice League versus Godzilla versus King Kong. And it's pictures versions, and it's fantastic. It's a 7 limited series, 4 issues in.
I have some pictures. The pictures are... I don't know that I found the one that you wanted me to find, but I found some covers and some pictures. This cover is insane.
Yep.
And it's the legendary logo on again, so it's like a movie logo, and it's even like the lettering on the book is right out of the studio. And then, I mean, this cover is cool. Just as cool as you can get, right? And then, of course, the showdown that everybody is talking about is.
Look at
this,
that.
And there's also, I also came across pictures of King Kong playing with the Daily Planet, like it was a bowling, like it was a basketball. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, so I think it's interesting that we're getting sequels to things in comic book form that we're never going to see again, because DC is definitely moving on, right? James Gunn is casting. We have people lining up. The big casting news of the week, of course, is Millie Alcock, who was on Game of Thrones or House of Dragons, the Game of Thrones spinoff show. She beat out Meg Donnelly. Apparently they flew both actresses to the set of Superman Legacy, where they were both in suit and boots, and just had to square off for these 2 young actresses who are very good. And the kid from House of the Dragons won. And so, like, when these casting things happen, is there a buzz in the store, Dave? Is there, like, I need more Supergirl stuff, or I got to figure out what Creature Commandos are? Or do you know what I mean? Like, does that happen? Especially now that Gunn is in charge? Because Gunn, everybody can bitch about Gunn's personal life and all this other shit, but Gunn hasn't delivered a bad movie in about 15 years. So Gunn being in charge of DC, is it a big watershed moment, you think?
Oh yeah, I think we see a bump. People have been less than enthused about the DC, movie product. And I can tell you that most of the time it didn't move the needle in comics at all for us. When Shazam came out or anything. I hate to tell you, Blue Beetle's a good film. Nobody came.
That was, again, the most interesting thing for me that we were talking about before we were talking. I think the worst decision made was James Gunn's in charge of DC. We're going to announce it right now. Mm-hmm. And we're going to announce it before 3 movies are coming out this year that don't fucking matter anymore. Mm-hmm. And even if the movies were good, they weren't going to hit because people have this funny, I'll just catch it on video if it doesn't fucking matter. Like, if I don't have to go see it in the theater, they're not going to go. So Blue Beetle was the saddest for me because I thought Blue Beetle was the best of the 3 movies that got released this year from Warner's. And apparently the kid Murderwayne is going to get a second chance to play him. Let's get some comments for the Peanut Gallery. Let's see. 1602 is an amazing run of comics. Remember Godzilla vs. Shogun Warriors, a comic by Marvel in the 80s.
Yep.
She is an amazing actress. Wait, hold on. She's an amazing actress. That's Millie Alcock. I like the girl they casted to be Supergirl now that I have to give it the person who played it before in the Flash movie. That sucks because she was a signing star of that movie. Yes, Sarah Kaye was a really good Supergirl, but unlike any other Supergirl ever, so they're going strict, they're going short, blonde. You know what I mean? And Millie Alcock happens to be theoretically a better actress than Meg Donnelly with what she's done. Let's see. No, folks who are into Game of Thrones and any of the spin-offs are really into those type of spin-offs. And literally the only reason I'm keeping my subscription. No, I agree. I think she's going to be very good. Let's see what else. Gunn is a super fan making super fan movies, and that's all I care about. I believe, Dave, you've been on the show before, and you have always agreed on this. The only thing that anybody that's running the DC universe, the first and foremost, that has to be right is Superman. Yeah, you have to get Superman right. If you don't get Batman can come and go. You can fix Batman. You can have a Pattinson Batman. You can have a Joker movie that's standalone. That's going to be a sequel now too. But you got to get Superman right. And they haven't had Superman right recently, which is no fault to Cavill, right? Not his fault. They just kept on failing him as making movies. But if Gunn gets his Superman right and his Lois right and his Lex right, that sets the universe up to be spectacular. I don't know. Do you still agree with that theory that if you get Superman right, you can have a bunch of movies that gross $1 billion?
Batman's the kind of character who's been open to interpretation and successful in different actors, different forms, different looks, different media. Superman's had a little bit less. So if you can get it starts from the top down, I think that you really win people over if you do a right Superman. And it'll gain some trust maybe back into their, cinematic. But I know I never watched that Superman and Lois show that was on the kids. I heard that was good, but I looked at that guy. I just don't see Superman, so that's no fault.
I actually think this is a really good show, but you're right. I mean, Tyler Hoechlin, he was also on Teen Wolf, but he was good, and Lois was pretty good. And the kids,
though, you care about the other 3 characters so much that it almost helps cover the imperfections of Superman, where you're still invested and care. And I think that if they can bring the other characters up, they don't have to have a perfect Superman in the movies. As long as you have a Flash that you care about or a Batman that you care about.
Well, Flash that doesn't get arrested every third day would be good. A Flash actor.
If they went with the CW Batman or with the CW Flash, I think that would solve a lot of their problems.
Well, Gene Hackman's 94. He's still available. Just saying.
Well, actually, the other thing you're talking about open to interpretations. We're going to get a Batman. We're getting the Brave and the Bold, which is a specific version of Batman comics, right? Bat Family. That's where they're headed. And the rumor casting, I don't know if anybody knows about that. I'm sure we discussed it, but the casting rumor is Reacher actor Alan Ritchson has talked to Gunn about being Batman. The size of that Batman alone would be the most scary thing I've ever seen in my life. Because he looks like the Batman from The Dark Knight Returns. Like he just hulking menace of a Batman. But he's also a pretty good actor. Reacher's a pretty good show. A lot of people like him. You know what I mean? But if Gunn gets the casting right on these things and the movie hits, and then all of a sudden the little pieces start to fall into place, like a Creature Commandos show is going to be outrageous. It should be incredible, but it's going to be very specific. But it's all headed in the right direction for Gunn and Safran. I think they have whatever. Let's see some other comments. I disagree. I think people are coming back to theaters in a big fucking way. Okay, they do go to theaters, but they didn't go to theaters for Aquaman or Blue Beetle. That's what we're talking about here. They didn't go for Aquaman. They didn't go for Blue Beetle. They didn't go for The Flash. And they certainly didn't go for Shazam. So I think, people may be going to theaters, but it's got to be, you got to knock it out of the park with these things. Okay, so what other big things we got going on in comics, Dave? What's the hottest thing you think is what's happening?
Jasper's got the number one question in comics, I think, right there.
Okay, there you go. What's Dave's opinion on a superior Spider-Man comic?
Oh, I didn't mean that one.
The Superior Spider-Man comic that's going
I know the one you mean.
I don't know how much your viewers are familiar with it, but basically Superior Spider-Man, when it originally came out, it was Doc Ock, Dr. Otto Octavius, who had taken over Peter Parker's body. And he said, I'm going to be a better Spider-Man than he ever was. Smarter, I could do more. He's wasting his time as Spider-Man. And he actually became a pretty darn good Spider-Man for a while. Peter's consciousness rose to the surface and took over, finished all that off. Currently what's going on is there's a story where, it's a little bit convoluted, but basically Peter has to be Spider-Man, so they think it's Doc Ock, but Doc Ock is in his head trying to tell Peter how to act like Doc Ock would as Spider-Man. So it's almost like this Freaky Friday type thing and brain. So it's like Doc Ock an asshole Spider-Man. And see that similar in a movie or maybe even an animated What If or something like that. But there's a lot that has to lead up to that. So that might be something you can't just drop it.
Can I ask you a question? Can you, as a person who runs a comic book store, please tell Sony to stop making bad Spider-Man movies? Can you write to somebody about that? Can you just be like, look, you're bringing my store down when you make Madam Web and Kraven the Hunter. You're bringing it all down. That's just a joke. I'm sorry. How about this question? This is a good one. A decade and a half ago, we found some hard times after moving to North Carolina briefly. I did not know this, Joe. I had to sell most of my collectibles and comics. I missed my framed Death of Superman Platinum Polybag Edition and Return of Superman Platinum Polybag Edition. Are these hard to find now? I think I sold them for about $250 framed together.
Framed together, you got $250 for it? That actually doesn't seem too bad. They go for a decent amount. The fact that they're framed actually makes them a little bit more customized and maybe not as desirable as if you had them separately. Prices on those, nothing's really as rare as you think it is, since the internet opened things up a million years ago.
Do you have either one? Do you have either one of those books in the store right now?
I do not. No, I don't have the Platinum Edition. No.
Interesting. Okay, that's a great question. Thank you, Joe.
Yeah.
Let's see. Dave keeps getting cut off. His mic isn't matched to his lips. Okay.
Godzilla.
Yes, he's doing a Godzilla impression. We were working on this earlier. After the show, for the next time Dave appears, I'm going to send him a mic. That's what we're going to do. We're going to take care of him. Blue Beetle was fantastic. Poor timing, absolutely. Jesus. Seriously, I don't want to get Superman right in a long time. Yeah, I think part of the problem, Superman, I don't know that for whatever reason, right? Dave, sorry, Nick Cage is busy. Get out of here. I think one of the things about Superman, the reason they haven't been able to get him right is he's a tough character to get right. And the people my age and your age, Jerry's age and Kyle's age, we grew up with Christopher Reeve, and he was a perfect Superman. He was everything we wanted him to be. And then they he's, for whatever reason, he's called the Big Blue Boy Scout. He's not, he's not as beloved because he doesn't do things edgy. He's not edgy, right? And we lived through the 90s and we lived through the 2000s where everything had to be a little bit edgier. And Superman's not edgy. And if you get it right, he's amazing, but he's not edgy. And he says things to Batman that make Batman cringe. You know what I mean? Like, why you gotta always kill? Why you gotta be so crazy? You know what I mean? Like, and you're just like,
you hit on the head. They're overthinking Superman. He's not Batman. He's not Spider-Man, or he's not a darker character. Just keep him what he is, but they keep trying to make him darker, edgy. I think they think they know what the audience wants and they don't. They're clearly getting it wrong. So get back to basics. It doesn't have to be exactly like Christopher Reeve, but get back to basics, and I think they're fine. But they constantly are trying to add a different layer to him that doesn't have, isn't part of his character.
Well, and that's the thing. Like, he's always, it's like that Kill Bill monologue, right? Where, Superman, the mask Superman wears is Clark Kent. Clark Kent is what he views humans as, right? And the idea that we want our Superman wholesome, like, he doesn't need to be squeaky clean, but he also doesn't need to be, suicidal or, xenophobic, worried about xenophobia. Like, I will always go back to the script decision in Man of Steel when he lets his father die instead of showing that he has powers is the worst decision, because the whole point of Pa Kent's death is that Superman can't save everyone, right? That's the whole. They get it right in the '78 Donner version, right? Yep. Pa Kent, Glenn Ford walking up, he just has a heart attack and keels over, and Superman can't do shit about it.
Yep.
And the idea that they put it in Henry Cavill's hands, where like you could save your dad, but your dad doesn't want you to save him because he doesn't want anybody to know you have powers, because he's worried everybody's going to try to pick you apart, and we don't like aliens. It puts such a burden on the character, and then you follow it through on that character. He's walking around, he's working on boats. It's mind-numbing how that particular weight crushed that Cavell character. Superman 3. Yes.
Hard to see, but
yes, the evil Superman who bangs the hot blonde. And then has a fight in a junkyard with his alter ego. Like, it's just weird. It's a weird fucking movie. It will always be. I do love Lois and Superman. I think it is. I think they do really great work on it, and that if fans will let them, they do. I'm not. That show has been a godsend, along with the Flash and everything that they've done on the CW, which is coming to an end now because Gunn's going to be running everything. So he's the DC czar now. Let's see. You gotta watch. Actually, worth seeing, and the fact that the old generation is not giving it benefit of the doubt is kind of sad. Well, it's not that. I think what Dave said really holds true, right? They've lost a lot of their credibility and the idea that we can trust you to do these characters right. And every once in a while we get an offshoot. We get something where it's like, that's better than I expected, like the Matt Reeves Batman, right? Where
I don't think anyone over the age of 28 really realizes the CW's on the air.
That's a true statement. Not gonna lie. But I think that's an interesting place where you, like, Dave, let's also talk about the other big comic book company and a couple other comic book movie tie-ins. Marvel on a downward trend. And you told me, can you please tell the story where somebody came in and said, I'm not watching a certain movie? Can you tell that to the audience? What a stupid decision this person made coming in because they thought Marvel's on a downward trend.
Oh, yeah. Just because you have that vocal minority out there that just talks about how bad everything is and Marvel's woke and wrong path and they're just garbage now. And he said he didn't see Guardians of the Galaxy 3. And he doesn't want to because he just feels that everything coming out. I said, you're very wrong. I said, if you love the so-called classic Marvel movies of the past 15 years, you will love Guardians of the Galaxy. It's as good as any of the Marvel movies that have come out. And but the general attitude by some people is that they're either sick of it or they just that Marvel product isn't good anymore. Marvel's had a lot of. I mean, some of the movies might have been hit or miss, but they're just kind of lumping everything under. They want Marvel to fail now. There's kind of that, that cynicism.
33 movies in, and we're a little sick of them. But yeah. I think you make a great point. The idea that you have somebody going, I think Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 isn't good. It was probably one of the best movies last summer. Like, I mean, just in general, and also, if you fell in love with Guardians of the Galaxy, made it a big hit, and made Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2 a big hit, to not finish out the trilogy, Gunn's swan song, also a reinvention of the, they added people that you wouldn't, that I as a comic book fan, I know you sit back and go, I can't believe they added that character at that moment. And now, she's a little girl and we know she's going to grow up and be something spectacular. You know what I mean? Like, it just, what they did with that movie was incredible. And you're right. I think there are a lot of people who are kind of hoping for it to fall on its face, but I'm not. When I go to a movie, JW, I have a decent mic I can send you. We're getting you a mic, Dave. You're coming back. Superman 3 was a bit edgy when they did the fake kryptonite. Yeah. Let's see. Heard that they want Supergirl to be angry in the new movie, but she's angry in the comics. She's been angry in the comics for the last 10 years. Yeah, that's one thing that came out from the casting call was that this Supergirl movie that they're making, because they're making a standalone Supergirl movie. She's going to be in Superman Legacy, but she's getting her own movie, and basically the plot is kind of funny. She's coming across the galaxy for Crypto's birthday, is the rumor, and that she runs into some problems with an alien race, and I was reading it going, okay, well, that's interesting. Here's the exact quote from Variety. Supergirl travels across the galaxy to celebrate Crypto, her 21st birthday with Crypto, the superdog. Along the way, she meets a young woman named Ruth Yee and winds up on a murderous quest for revenge. So, I don't know what comic that's from. Dave, I know you're going through the mental Rolodex right now, and you're like,
oh, yeah.
But that's the thing about Gunn, though. Gunn has been, for the most part, you have to be, as a comic book person, a person who runs a store, Gunn is definitely taking things from comic books. He's not, like every third Instagram page for James Gunn is a shot of a comic book on a wall as like the dream wall, which is nice, right?
I'll tell you what, just talking about James Gunn, the best thing I read last year was a James Gunn adjacent book, and it was the sequel. It's a Peacemaker limited series, and it's the HBO show, which was fantastic. By the way, if anybody saw it or didn't, capture the feel and the sound and the dialogue and everything of that TV show perfectly. It's written by a guy named Kyle Starks, who's kind of been around a while, but kind of started big out noticed. Art by, I believe it's Steve, who's been around a long time. And it was probably the best thing I read last year from the mainstream books. It's coming out in hardcover. This is not, I didn't plan it this way. It's coming out in hardcover in about a week or so. And do yourself a favor. If you like the Peacemaker show, go get that collected edition when it comes.
Kyle, Jerry, any questions for Dave? Dave's the expert. What do we got? Anything?
No.
Jerry's you.
I'm starstruck. Let's see if there's any questions in the comments.
I'm waiting for the Howard the Duck comic.
I'm never gonna. Okay, look.
What's coming up with Howard the Duck? That's the question, Dave.
Jesus.
Reissue for him, 50.
Wait, are they actually really celebrating Howard the Duck at 50?
Yeah, they just came out with a one shot celebrating his anniversary, and they kind of did stories. Yes. Points in his life.
Was one of them the heartbreaking 1986 movie Crashing and Burning?
No, but they do talk about aliens that come down looking for things. They talk about him not being marketable and not testing well and not being likable.
Perfect. That's perfect for me.
Yep.
That's perfect. I feel he's not likable or marketable.
Need to make the movie, though.
Look, this is a big issue, Dave. I take a lot of shit on the show, and one of the things I take a lot of shit about is I think the 1986 Howard the Duck movie is, in a word, abysmal. I think it's. I don't care how much.
It's not as bad as Garbage Pail Kids. Come on.
But you're comparing it to Garbage Pail Kids. It's not a good movie. It's just not.
It's better than
Play Duck and Raiders of the Lost Duck. They're not good jokes. Now, I'm not saying if we're talking about Howard the Duck as played by Seth Green in the new Marvel stuff and in the What If show, great. He's been fantastic. He's a good Howard. But this idea that I somehow have to love the 86 movie because I grew up in the 80s, it's a bad movie, kids. It was a bad movie in the 80s. It's a bad movie now. And I'm not going to back down from this.
Nope.
You can't make me. And no matter how many people go, ask Dave about Howard the Duck. Howard the Duck, the 86 movie is awful. Jesus.
So awful it's good.
We need more Swamp Thing comics.
Fine.
A couple of those.
Wait, just so we're clear, the 80s Swamp Thing movie, better than Howard the Duck. Has Louis Jourdan in it. Has Adrian Barbeau. Fantastic movie. Great movie. You know what's not a great movie? The 86 Howard the Duck. It's a pile of trash. And it wastes Leah Thompson, who's super hot in it. Anyway, I've spoken. Here's a question.
The duck was
With
hotter.
the Superman story, his father knew that it was time to show what could do, especially during something that was a natural disaster. He needed to wait till someone else happened that was more important and threatened more lives. Okay, but Sean and Dave, if I'm wrong, stop me. The whole point of Pa Kent dying is so that Superman knows he can't save everyone. He can't change everything at every moment because he hears everything at every moment, right? But he can't save everybody at every moment. And so when you have him have to make a choice of either letting his father die in a tornado that he could also save everybody else in the tornado, you put a burden on Superman, the character, the Kal-El character, that the movies can't get out from under. They can't escape it, because then the rest of it is he goes on the Vision Quest. He works on the fish boat for an hour. It just becomes, I don't want anybody to know that I have powers. And then when Zod shows up, he has to show everybody he has powers. So it's just dumb to kill Pa Kent that way and burden the character. And then it spills out. It spills into Batman vs. Superman. It spills into Justice League. It spills everywhere, all over the Cavill version. And they only get a couple things right with the Cavill version. And one of the things they got right was fucking Joss Whedon putting in him versus the Flash, which is funny.
Yeah.
Them competing is funny. Flash is running around in Justice League and he takes people out, and Superman just picks up the fucking building and carries it. That's funny.
Yep. And
then they have the race. You know what I mean? But I'm so distraught that Cavill's not going to get another shot. But I'm also okay with it. That character, that version of the character is dead. Let's see what else. More questions for. Marvel is Nickelback. People say they hate them, then they sell billions. Sure, no one watches, listens to them, rolls eyes. Supergirl and Flash was awesome. Wish they would have kept her. Now she had the angry attitude. Sarah Kaye, fantastic, best part of the Flash. Let's see. Laugh out. Crypto the dog gets killed and Supergirl becomes a version of John Wick. We can only dream, kids. We can only dream. Sounds fun. Laugh out loud. But so are there anything? Okay, so one thing I do need to talk to you about for me, and it's just for me because Kyle and Jerry are here and they're not asking questions, so I'm gonna. They're coming back. What do you feel about the resurgence of 80s stuff, Dave? We have
you ask questions and he tells us Howard the Duck isn't relevant, Jerry. What the fuck?
He isn't relevant. Thundercats and Gargoyles are coming back, Dave. Right, Tell me a little bit about those.
Gargoyles are already back. They've been back for a while. There's even been some spin-offs already from Dynamite Entertainment. They've been publishing even a series of really successful books about the Disney villains, like Maleficent and Hades and Scar and things like that, kind of look at the villain side of things. But Cats is on its way. That's coming out pretty soon. That a lot of people are excited about that. Transformers and G.I. Joe right now, and they're being put out by Robert Kirkman Skybound Entertainment through Image Comics, and they're a huge success right now. So the 80s are in full swing right now. They're doing really well too. I mean, they have really good creative teams on these books, so the quality is there. People just buy them because they're feeling nostalgia for Transformers.
But the stories are good. The stories are. Now, I have a question: Are the Kirkman Transformers G.I. Joe books are they in the same universe? Is it?
Yeah. In fact, he even a sneaky way in a book that he created that nobody knew about that was going to be connected, called Void Rivals, and it's part of this Energon universe. and we actually see there's a Cobra Commander limited series where it looks like something in the Transformers universe is instrumental in helping Cobra rise to power. So they're definitely connected.
Oh, interesting. Quick question: how the Mark Miller books? How are they doing? Well, as well, like the books that with
back in the heyday of Kick-Ass and stuff like that, people were definitely picking up pretty much everything Mark Millar does. But lately he even had a big crossover called Big Game last year, where he tied in all his characters that he created into this kind of big like soup of an adventure. And they do okay. We see huge sales on them, but they're consistent. But
yeah, that was the one with the Kingsman and Kick-Ass and a bunch of the characters that have been made into movies. Okay, so I'm getting called out now. Hold on. Ooh, I think we found the actual problem with Howard and JW. It's about the misuse of Leah Thompson. Did you have a crush, JW? First off, I lived in the 80s. Who didn't have a fucking crush on Leah Thompson in the 80s? Point blank. Unless you weren't into her, in which case I don't understand you as a person. Hey, you watch the Twilight Zone tonight, Kyle, Defina. Yes, that is one thing we do have to do. Dave, I'm going to let you go. We are going to have you back. We're going to get you a mic, and I'm going to send it to you, and I'm going to take care of it on me just because I love having you on the show. And when I have you on the show, we have really good talk, and I appreciate you. And also, I'll talk to you in a couple days. I'll just print money and send it to you because I have so many things I need to get. But
you'll get a mic.
Is there anything you got going on or anything you want to? Is the store doing anything?
Mike?
The store's doing really well. I mean, nothing crazy going on. There's an ice festival coming up downtown, and we're gonna have special sales for that. And of course, social media and everything too, so you can keep up with our comings and goings. If you need anything from us, I mean, we do mail order, all over the universe. We've been doing that like 97. So if you need anything, just please hit us up. But otherwise, I'd love to just even hear from people. Don't hesitate to reach out to us.
And what I will say is one thing that anybody who's from Scranton, if you say, where'd you get your comics? It's always Comics on the Green. Thank you, Dave, for joining us. You have a great night.
Thanks for having
me. I appreciate you. And we'll see you next time you come on. And we will have a mic and everything. I will have it sent out to you. So we'll get it after the show. I'll send you a message. Just put your address in there. We'll take care of it. I appreciate you so much, man. You have a great night, okay?
Take care, you guys. Thanks for having me. Have a good
Thanks,
night.
Dave. He's great. When he comes on the show, it's fantastic. We talk about all kinds of cool things.
So,
we got to work on this mic. That's true. We got to work on it.
Wow.
We did a mic check. We did a mic check before the show, and I'm sorry. I'm really sorry for everybody. Hey, do you know who watched the Twilight Zone tonight? Kyle Defina. Okay, here we are. This is a good time. A perfect time.
Boring.
Oh, I had pictures. Hold on. Give me 1 second. Because I'm going to blow your mind with some stuff.
Pictures of me watching Twilight Zone now?
Yeah, it's weird. Like I didn't understand. I didn't understand why your pants were around your ankles. It was weird for me.
I knew you were watching.
It was weird. Okay, I don't have the picture of her. Okay, so tonight's episode, first off, it was a fantastic episode. It's a great episode of Twilight Zone. Wait a second. Why are you putting comments in? Why? Yes, it is, Joe. Saw them over the summer with my kid.
Joe asked me an off-topic question, and I answered him, so I didn't interrupt your diatribe that you were going off on about how much you had your pants around your ankles while watching Howard the Duck because of the co-star.
Leah Thompson. Just saying.
Honey, I will hand deliver the mic because you're a god. That's good. We also have comic podcast for Indie Network with Dave. Maybe that would be a good idea. I would love to have Dave all the time, every week talking about stuff. But he's a busy guy. That's the other thing. He is a busy man. So getting him locked in for once or twice a quarter, is usually the limit. And Tuesday nights are a little bit rough because
he runs that shop basically single-handedly.
I
know he was approached about the Comic-Con that's happening in Northeast PA, and he just doesn't have the coverage to be able to do it, even though he'd love to.
Twilight Zone is mad. Bring on the Outer Limits. I like the Outer Limits. It's not as good as the Twilight Zone. So tonight's episode of the Twilight Zone is called The 16 Millimeter Shrine. The opening narration is: picture of a woman looking at a picture. Movie grade of another time. Once brilliant star in a firmament no longer a part of the sky, eclipsed by the movement of Earth and time. Barbara Jean Trenton, whose world is a projection room, whose dreams are made out of celluloid. Barbara Jean Trenton is stuck down by hit and run years and lying on the unhappy pavement, trying desperately to get the license number of fleeting fame. So I feel
Show
like
opens with this Robin Hood looking motherfucker making out with her.
yes, she's watching a movie where she starred as in a Robin Hood type show. I think first off, the interesting thing here is this is made in 1959. So you have this show, this particular character has a very definitive a definitive vibe to her that is very Sunset Boulevard, which, is one of the great movies. It came out in 1950. Billy Wilder, just one of the great American movies ever made. William Holden, Gloria Swanson. I'm ready for my close-up, Mr. DeMille. That sort of thing. I think this is a really great episode of The Twilight Zone about a love of film and about making a wish. And her wish is to be stuck forever in film because she's been, like, life has passed her by. We talk about aging actresses all the time. We talk about how women in film don't get their just due after a certain age. And I think about how smart you have to be in 1959 to be looking at this. And it's in 59. We're still talking about this issue today.
Yep.
We have this issue with female actresses who don't get their due past a certain age. And Rod Serling hits on it in 25 minutes. And it's poignant and sad. And the guy who runs the studio is so fucking mean to her. He's so mean.
We have a great part for you. You're going to be a mother.
A mother. Yes. And it's a bit part. And then he says it's charity. You know what I mean? So let's do this, Kyle. What didn't you like about it?
Black and white.
No, I don't mind the black and white part.
They're all going to be black and white, Mrs. Kamora.
I will never watch again.
Well, that's okay with me. I will watch them. This one probably wasn't the first one for Kyle to start.
Having to go through twice in my life living with someone with dementia, and that film very much reminds me of those times where they can't let go of the past. They can't go into the future or the present. When they see someone from the present, they don't believe it's them.
Okay, so you're taking it as a dementia view.
It very much seems like a dementia patient.
I think she is trapped in time.
5 minutes.
I think
she's not accepting of the time, and she doesn't understand that time has passed. And
well, that could be partially true. I mean, when she looked at the guy, she's like, "You're not him."
Yeah. It's possible. Well, by the end of the episode, she's completely like torn asunder. That the meeting with the studio executive is so brutal. Okay, Missy brings up something. Can I talk about the fact that the intro for next week was "Let's go back in time"? And I'm sitting there and going, "Dude, we're already going back in time." Yes. Wait till you see the log line for next week's episode. It is the fact that it was made in 1959 is going to blow your minds. But I do want to get into some things. Get over the fact in black and white. Get over it. I feel like it's trapping time, but it's not dementia. It's more she's chasing after what it could have been. I agree. Spoiler, happier ending than Sunset Boulevard. Yes, it is a happier ending than Sunset Boulevard. Very true. Raven writes, I'm going back up, Kyle, when you deal with somebody who has dementia and you see shows that use some of these characteristics, it's really hard to recall some of the things and enjoy the show. So I'm not going to give Kyle some points for watching it because I honestly, JW couldn't. Okay. But I understand. If you saw something different, but maybe, at the time in 59, they don't know about dementia. What I really want everybody to understand, first of all, I think it's a great episode. It's all about loving movies to a fault. It's about loving movies. The final thing, and then I have some mind-blowing trivia that will win you a trivia night somewhere. The closing narration, first off, it's got Martin Balsam in it, Ida Lupino. Martin Balsam, by the way, just for a quick reference, Martin Balsam did 2 episodes of The Twilight Zone, and in between those 2 episodes of The Twilight Zone, did Psycho, Breakfast at Tiffany's, and Cape Fear. So, to be a working actor like Martin Balsam
The original.
in the 50s and 60s. You do a couple episodes of The Twilight Zone, and then you do Psycho, Breakfast at Tiffany's, and Cape Fear. Also, Ida Lupino, I just want to say it, and we'll talk about the closing narration. Ida Lupino is, if you don't know a lot about her, we should be talking about her a lot more. She's an actress, that basically when things were all said and done, she became an amazing talent, not only on screen. Like, she's known for films like Adventures of Sherlock Holmes. They Drive by Night, the Seawolf, The Hard Way. She did amazing movies. Okay, but here's where it gets really interesting. She directed films too at a time when it wasn't popular or fun for a woman to be a director. She directed a film noir called The Hitchhiker in 1953. She was widely regarded as one of the most prominent female filmmakers, including in the indie system. She broke out and started her own independent production company, where she co-wrote and co-produced social message movies. And here is the defining fact. The films she directed about 8 films. Not Wanted, Never Fear, Bigamist, 1,000 Outrage, 1,001 Movies You Must See Before You Die, The Trouble with Angels, and she has a short, really immensely influential directorial career where she tackled themes of women trapped by social conventions, which she was, and they were usually, she did all different kinds. She did horror, noir, melodramatic. So she is one of the proto-feminist filmmakers we're ever going to talk about. And this astounding fact, are you ready? Ida Lupino stars in this episode of The Twilight Zone. She also appears in another episode of The Twilight Zone. Actually, I'm sorry, she doesn't appear in another episode. She stars in this episode of The Twilight Zone, and in the 5th season of The Twilight Zone, she directed an episode called The Masks, and in season 5. So, Ida Lupino, and this is where it gets really great, because think of all the people that were talented on this show and worked with this show. Ida Lupino is the only person to have ever acted in one episode of The Twilight Zone and directed another. And she's the only woman ever to direct a Twilight Zone episode.
Interesting.
It's stellar. And here's the thing. It's an amazing thing. And we talk about female directors. Female directors are on a hot button issue, especially after the Oscar nominations a couple weeks ago, with Greta Gerwig and all the things that went around it. But Ida Lupino was ahead of her time. She was a proto-feminist. She was amazing. She did things that nobody's ever done. And I think it's really interesting when you find out she's the only actor that's ever acted in a Twilight Zone and directed a Twilight Zone. And the only female to ever direct a Twilight Zone. So when we get to that episode of The Masks, first off, it's one of the great episodes of all time. And I'm so excited when we get there. But absolute masterpieces, Breakfast at Tiffany's, Cape Fear, and Psycho, all great. Martin Balsam's in all of them. He's really good here. He's really trying hard for her to be a good... What's going on?
Balsam.
I'll get it. I'll give it another go another time. I think right now is not the right time for me with this episode. That's fine. And then I don't know that this is one of the best episodes of The Twilight Zone. I'm just telling you that in researching this episode of The Twilight Zone, Ida Lupino is somebody I'm going to have to try to figure out. It's not somebody I would have crossed paths with in my criticism or in my watching films, right? But now I'm going to go searching because I just find her really interesting, and her story is
more stuff too on Dick Balsam.
Actually a cool fact. Yes. Okay, but Kyle, can I ask you a question? You're gonna start watching the episodes, or is this just one thing's today I learned why I don't do
Don't judge everything on the one you just watched.
Because I think you missed a couple good episodes before.
It's not one of the best. Like, it's intriguing, but
it's intriguing, and it has a hook ending.
There's others that are great.
But so what I'm going to say is this is the closing narration. To the wishes that come true, to the strange, mystic strength of the human animal who can take a wishful dream and give it dimension of its own. Barbara Jean Trenton, movie queen of another era, who has changed the blank the blank tomb of an empty projection screen into a private world. It can happen in the Twilight Zone. The writing is just so amazing. Also, preview for next week. Next week, we invite you to take a strange journey back in time with Mr. Gig Young, who tries to make the exodus of all men in their desperate attempt to revive the past. We offer a most bizarre story called Walking Distance, and we'll hope you're around to share it with us. Thank you and good night. I think the interesting thing about watching these episodes, Jerry, I know Kyle's not with me on this, but I think the interesting thing watching these episodes, Jerry, they are short, they are movie worthy, right? They are, if they showed these in movie theaters, 3 or 4 of them attached,
that should be the previews and everything for every movie. Just show these. Forget the soda and the popcorn.
You just get me a Twilight Zone episode, and you have 20 minutes to sit down, but it's a fully complete. They're all complex. They're all complex stories. They're intricately combined, and everything's written by Serling. Serling's got to be one of the great writer directors. Just genius level stuff. And when you think about it, all the great movies we love, theoretically, when you look at the Twilight Zone, they could have caused them. All of them. You know what I mean?
When we get to the Twilight Zone episodes about the Men in Black.
The funny thing that you're saying,
it's a joke, JW. You don't got to really explain that one.
But the funny thing that you're saying it, like the episode with Death, he was dressed like a Men in Black. He had the tie and he had the. So like, I feel like one of the things about Twilight Zone is that when you watch it, I think it inspires a lot of things that that we don't even see, things that happen. But okay, let's see. Ida Lupino did 2 episodes of the Batman series 68. She did so much stuff. And one of the great gifts about looking at this episode was digging up all the stuff on Ida Lupino and how she was a female director and how she was one of the few proto-feminist directors, how she directed a Twilight Zone episode, how she was the only person to ever star in one and direct one. Think about that. Think about all the people that went through the Twilight Zone in 5 seasons. And she was the only one ever invited to come back and direct it. Let's see. There is episodes that are a bit sadder and depression to other episodes that are uplifting and hold you into the gracious. Yeah, I mean, that's the other thing. It's dark or cold or whatever. Like, it's all sides. Whatever you get. And then what we get every week is what we get. I'm really fed up with these and think you should see them. I understand. I got you. Twilight Zone is a perfect study of short story, but like in TV form, it's perfection in small doses. Yeah, it's a perfectly entombed story every week. You get beginning, middle, and end. It's some of the best writing you're ever going to come across. Then Raven ends with Twilight Zone exposed so much modern pop culture, sci-fi, fantasy, comics, etc. I looked up the episode from next week. I'm not going to lie to you. Walking Distance. Walking Distance sounds like Back to the Future. I'm not going to lie. It's about a guy who goes back and meets his parents and himself. So, yes. Realizing how bad the lag is between YouTube and Facebook this episode. Interesting. Okay. Interesting. Okay. What else? Okay, so we got movies coming out this week. This is the first week where we're going to have a big movie coming out. Argyle's coming out. People are talking about it. It's from the same guy that did did The Kingsman and a couple other things. It opens
like Die Hard.
No, Argyle.
And it's in color.
It is in color, but it's got Henry Cavill, John Cena, Sam Rockwell. It's got Samuel L. Jackson and a bunch of other people. And so it should be a big hit this weekend because there's nothing else playing. And God knows theaters need movies right now. Jerry, what do you got coming up as we end this episode this week?
Nothing really.
You're like, I gotta watch black and white stuff with the wife. It's brutal.
There's not a lot of shows and stuff. You know, we're getting a little older. Traveling in the winters.
Looks like it's going to be a good movie thing. I agree with that. Everybody watching shows. Traders is pretty good. True Detective Night Country, if you're watching. I don't know what it's going to be. I can't decide if it's going to be supernatural, or if it's going to be science fiction, or if it's going to be like the original True Detective, which was all over the place too. And it appears that this episode, I don't know if anybody's watching, but if you are, it appears that this is a direct sequel to the first season with Matthew McConaughey and Woody Harrelson. So let's see. Hi and welcome, Vicky Wadsworth Alfonso. Yes. There's a fairy festival coming. Oh, wait, where'd you go? Hold on. It's a fairy festival coming up. If anybody's interested. Yes, we were talking about that. When is the Fairy Fest, Kyle? What is a Fairy Fest and what are the dates?
By just saying Fairy Fest, I don't think it's given a good description of what it all entails.
I think it's not derogatory. It's a festival that promotes balance of nature, I would imagine. Yes? Tell me, Vicky, in a sentence or two, in the comments, what exactly is a Gas decided to rewatch and finish Archer. Okay, cool. Let's see. I'm waiting for Vicky to answer. Kyle, what about you? What do you got going on? What are you not going to watch this week? In your quest to
I'm not going to watch anything you suggest because I'm going to be at clubs all weekend. So I'm looking forward to the Comic-Con that's going to be happening in Scranton here on February 17th and 18th.
We've been talking about this one. We've been talking about this one. It's called NEPA Comic-Con, a Nerd Utopia, February 17th and 18th. At NEPA Comic-Con and at Funtime Cosplay Crew, they're co-hosting. At DRVENKMAN 83, hosted, of course, at the Moon Ballroom. We are going to have them on in a week or two to discuss before we
got some really good guests too.
Excellent. Well, I also have this coming up this weekend, which is also pretty big. MegaCon Orlando. We're going to head out to possibly the Junkie Film Fest, the Junkie Horror Film Fest, Horror Junkie Film Fest, I should say. It should be fun. There's a lot of big stars coming, and we're going to be doing some live YouTube stuff, YouTube, Facebook, and everything, just to get going and uploading. And so you'll get to see me jaunting around MegaCon. We also have HauntCon coming up 2 weeks from. Oh, actually, I'm sorry. Are you creative and have a new indie movie trailer and or commercial? Email it to us, and we'll play it on the upcoming The Indie Escape Network show for free. TheIndieEscape@gmail.com. Please, if you have something you're pushing. We know Rich and Natasha were on Generation Movie this week. Their movie just got entered into the Northeastern Pennsylvania Film Festival, so congratulations to them again. We are also...
from what I gather here in the comments, a Fairy Con is like a Renaissance fair, but more fantasy-based with mermaids and unicorns and elves and fairies with lots of homemade stuff
and lots of stuff for the kids.
Lots of activities for kids. And I understand that a friend of ours, Mark Mysterio, the magician, will be there too.
Glass blowing, yoga, drum circles, tea party with the fairies. It's April 22nd at it's a fairy market. Where is it at?
At the Moon Ballroom.
At the Moon Ballroom. So the Moon Ballroom quickly becoming a hot spot in NEPA for the nerd and nerd kind. Sean also writes, so kind of like the world of Willow. Yeah. A little bit. Since it's week 2, I really don't know how you have a graphic, but cool. Yeah, I try. I try to do my best. I try to do some pre-show stuff. I actually did try to get Dave to have perfect sound, and he did what I was on. He wasn't cutting out at all, but we'll work on that going forward. But yeah, so we have this big fairy festival coming up, fairy market. Great movie. We got Argyle coming up. We got a lot of stuff coming up. And I want to thank everybody for joining us tonight.
What else we got?
I will say next week we will have on 2 of the kids that are joining the network. Harry Kernetsky and Morgan, his fiance, are coming on, and they're going to be starting their own show on the Indie Escape Network. I am going to produce for them and help them out. It is a really cool concept show. It is a couple that is setting up to be married. They're a younger couple with completely different movie tastes. So one week they will the same week they will watch one movie for him and one movie for her. And as an example, Harry would like her to watch Metropolis by Fritz Lang, and she would like Harry to watch Crossroads starring Britney Spears. It's gonna be quite it's gonna be
movie. What?
Yes, not the Ralph Macchio version.
What?
And Crossroads, by the way, is now completely on. They just released it to streaming. So the fact that Crossroads is now streaming,
Ralph Macchio one.
Ralph Macchio one with Joe. What was his name? Joe. The old African American actor who's really good in that movie. But thank you for joining us tonight. We'll see everybody next week. And where next week's episode of the Twilight Zone is Walking Distance. If you're paying attention, which I hope you are, and I hope you're enjoying it. Thank you to Kyle. Thank you to Jerry. Thank you to Dave Romeo and the great great man who runs Comics on the Green for coming on tonight. And wow, talk about two different movies. Yes. Peck, don't call me a Peck. Peck. Good. Willow. I love Willow. Not Howard the Duck, though. Willow, yes. Howard the Duck, no. Anyway, moving on. Everybody have a great week. We'll see everybody next week. Walking Distance is the Twilight Zone episode. We'll talk about Argyle. We'll talk about some other things. Thank you for joining us tonight. Thank you, boys.